Hello there, welcome back. Tonight I have a scrapbook layout, a card, and a tag using brand new Stampin' Up! Sketches. If you follow my channel, you know that last month I started an 8-month-long single-page Saturday sketch challenge where on the first Saturday of every month, we're going to complete projects using selected sketches from pages 24 and 28 of the brand new annual catalog. It is so fun that Stampin' Up! Now has scrapbooking sketches along with their usual tag and card sketches. You can download the PDF if you want to play along, and it's linked in the description of this video. Just click that More button. We're going to be using brand new product tonight, so you're looking at some yummy goodness here. We have a brand new designer series paper called Weekend Adventure, and it is exactly that, all things weekend adventure. We have buffalo plaid, trees, starry skies, hiking icons, acorns, and all the things. A great black pinstripe, and it's perfect for all of your masculine or outdoor adventures. I'm going to be adding for the tag and the card a new Stampin' die set also called Pop and Buy. And for the scrapbook layout, I'm actually going to do an indoor adventure instead of an outdoor adventure. I went over Memorial Day weekend to a high school girls trip where we all got together. There are 5 of us that have 40 to 50-year friendships, and we did an escape room. Have you ever done an escape room? This was my first time, and we had a lot of fun. So I'm going to document with the scrapbook layout tonight our weekend adventure in the escape room. Now, the escape room was called Blue Parlor. So it has some blue in it, and there's also some brick in the background and some darker tones. It's a murder mystery. So I thought these papers would be perfect. We're actually going to start with the card, but I get deep into the card, the tag, I get both of those done, and I get into the scrapbook layout and realize I am on July's sketches that I chose. I don't know how I skipped June, but we're going to have to roll with it and go back. It's, hey, flexibility is the name of the game. So I've grabbed some Cajun Craze, which is a coordinating color in Weekend Adventures. I've cut some buffalo plaid to 4 by 5 1/4 and a willow white to 3 3/4 by 5, and I'm pulling out these round shaker domes and some loose popcorn. I'm always looking for little gifties that aren't candy. I love the idea of movie tickets and popcorn, and I love the idea of making a popcorn shaker. Now, I was very skeptical about this Stampin' die set, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute, but it has this popcorn box, some little teeny tiny shoes, some 3D movie glasses, a film strip, 3 larger pieces of popcorn that have impression dies in the middle, and then it has the coordinating stamps so you can die them only or you can stamp them, and then it has cute little sentiments, but they all have eyes on them, and I really did not like that at first. I'm just going to be transparent, but I wanted the popcorn box, and so I also wanted the saying that says better than butter, or you're better than butter. We have a private joke around here about butter. I'm butter. I love butter. I cook with real butter. I never use margarine. And my grandkids laugh at me when I was making the Thanksgiving turkey. It was so full of butter and wine. It had to be juicy, right? But I love butter. So they're going to love this little sentiment. But I cut out a 1 3/4 inch circle to put the sentiment on. I stamped my sentiment in Memento Black and rubbed with a blending brush a little bit of Daffodil Delight just to give it a little bit of color. I'm going to put some popcorn kernels in. I may have gotten a few too many. It really doesn't take that many. You do have to shake it to see the sentiment, which I kind of like actually, because then you're getting fun out of the shaker element. Now, these round domes have adhesive on the bottom and an adhesive layer on the top, and they actually come up under a circle that you cut out. So they'll stick around the circle on the top, and they'll also stick on the bottom. Now, I discovered that I do not have a 1.5-inch circle punch. Like, I can't believe there's something that I don't have. But I'm going to use a little smaller circle die. That is, I think it is a 1.5-inch circle die. So this is kind of in between 1 3/4 and 1.5. And I felt like 1 3/4, it showed too much of the, the round part. And so I went with a little smaller. So you can see how the 1 3/4 punch, it just has a little bit too much space around it. And I wanted it to be really snug. So I went back into my stash and grabbed a 1.5-inch ring die. And so I'm definitely going to put a 1.5-inch circle punch on my list. So what I'm going to do here is I really want some of the popcorn stamps to be showing up under the dome shaker part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a couple of the popcorn boxes in Daffodil Delight, but I want to strategically place them so that when I cut out my circle to put the shaker in it, it actually cuts out the eyes. So one of the reasons I was hesitant to get the stamp and die set is I didn't like that the popcorn has eyes and that the little kernels of popcorn have eyes. And I wasn't a fan. I truly wasn't a fan. I do end up loving it, especially those little tennis shoes, but I wanted to show you how you could use it in both ways. Now, with the stamp, with the bigger popcorn pieces, you could literally color in the eyes and the mouth once you've stamped it in the coordinating color of marker. So let's say you stamp that popcorn in Daffodil Delight. You can take your Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blend and color over the eyes and the mouth, and there won't be a eyes or a mouth on that popcorn. It's a little tougher on the popcorn box because the eyes stamp within that stamp. And so what I've done is I've stamped onto a separate piece of paper with Cajun Craze, and then I fussy cut out the top of the popcorn box. And then, even though there's the legs on the bottom and the eyes on the bottom, I'm going to put my 1.5-inch die, circle die, strategically over the bottom and cut out that so that the eyes don't show and the shaker shows through. Now I've cut a couple of the little film strips and I've cut those in black, and I'm going to strategically place those on the left and overlap them. It looks really super cute. That gives me the two tones, and you could do masking where you masked off little parts with masking tape, but I just decided to do it this way. So now I'm going to pull the adhesive off of the top of the ring, at the top of the shaker. I'm going to lay it over the circle, lay the circle over it, press it down around the edges. Now that's going to adhere that shaker up under that loose white willow piece. So now I'm going to mount my 3 3/4 white willow, 3 3/4 by 5 white willow on my 4 by 5 1/4 buffalo plaid. I've went ahead and I die cut out the larger popcorn pieces with the impression die in the center. I'm going to use my sponge dauber and daub a little bit more of Daffodil Delight in the crevices on that and make it look like buttery goodness, because everything's better with butter. That's what my grandkids say to me because I cook with butter. I know probably what you're thinking. It's not healthy, but I honestly, and I'm not going to get into an argument about butter versus margarine, but I feel like there are things in margarine that aren't quite healthy either. So I guess to each his own vice, right? I love butter. All right, so I have pulled out from an oldie, the Greetings of the Season, a long and a skinny sentiment piece so that it could fit that longer piece that just says poppin' by to say hello. And it fits right on that piece, but then it kind of blends in. So if I look at the sketch that I chose for the card this month, it has that long piece. It's really vague, isn't it? It has a big circle in the middle, and then it has this long oval piece. That's all you get for the inspiration. And sometimes I think, wow, that sketch didn't give me much, but it always gives you a jumping off point. I've never had problems when I look at the sketch knowing where to start. And it's so crazy how they give you one shape and you're like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go. It's genius, actually. Whoever decided to make sketches, they were geniuses. So now I've added a couple overlapping pieces of large popcorn on the top. I've got those film strips off to the side. I've got the sentiment piece popped up. I've rubbed that sentiment piece with a little Daffodil Delight just so it doesn't blend into the background. And I've grabbed some black dots from my stash that I have this huge bag of that I've been trying to use up. And I'm just going to add a few of those dots onto the card, and I love it. So that is a way that you can use the Stampin' die set and not have little eyeballs on your popcorn kernels and pieces, or on your popcorn box. And I just think it's adorable the way that it turned out. So now I'm going to grab my Spotlight on Nature die and make a white circle. I'm grabbing a piece of that buffalo plaid again, and I actually have one of these shaker elements already made, and it was a boo-boo. I made it and then I stuck it in there wrong, and I pulled it back up so you can see some of the paper on it, but I'm a scavenger and I'm going to use it up. I'm going to make it work. So the buffalo plaid is about 2.5 by 4 1/4, and I honestly didn't measure it. I just grabbed a scrap that I had, and then I'm going to actually stamp onto scrap paper. I'm going to stamp that same popcorn in Daffodil Delight, and then I'm going to stamp it again in the Cajun Craze, and then I'm going to die cut both of those out. I started to fussy cut the top, and I really need to die cut it because I want the feet to show on this one. So the first one, I did my best to cover up the eyes. The second one, I was going to embrace the eyes and the little feet, and I was skeptical, and I thought it was really ridiculous, but I thought I'm going to try this. So the Spotlight on Nature circle is 2 1/4, and then I have that 1.5 inch circle die still. And I'm thinking I'll make the shaker in the Spotlight on Nature die. But first, what I'm going to do is add the popcorn. So what I did is add the fussy cut red piece, red popcorn box, to the yellow so that the popcorn could be yellow and the box could be red. And then I die cut out the center of the Spotlight on Nature. I did add precision glue to that because the sticky wasn't sticky anymore because it was a boo-boo or a mess up. So I'm just going to snip off a corner, flip it around to the opposite side, use that as my pattern, and snip off of the other corner. Now I have tons of tag dies. So you could get a fancy tag die, you can use any tag die that you have, but I find that making tags by hand is super fast and easy. But I want to make it kind of a multi-pattern tag. So I'm going to grab some more of that buffalo plaid on the black pinstripe side. And I'm going to add that to the bottom about 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to add a little bit to the top. And I'm just going to kind of guesstimate, use a scrap. And then I'm going to put that on the top right where the angled edges hit the base of the tag. And then I'm going to fussy cut around that. And then I have a 2-pattern tag, and it's so cute. I love those patterns together. I'm going to grab my punch, and I'm going to punch a slit in the top of the tag, and later on we'll add a little bit of plaid ribbon to that, and it'll be so cute. But now what I want to do is actually stamp some of the larger popcorn pieces. So I like to use the stamps and the dies in both ways that they're intended. So you can do die cutting only with the dies, or you can do stamping only with the stamp, or you can combine the two together and do stamping and die cutting. So I think what I'm going to do is add a single piece of popcorn up at the top and then pop up another piece of popcorn after the shaker is on. But I'm going to add the tennis shoes. They're so stinking cute. They're so tiny. I'm going to add the little tiny shoes to the feet of the popcorn, and then I'm going to add the 3D movie glasses. And I have to admit, I am eating crow because it's adorable. And I don't know why, when I just saw it as a Stampin' die, I was just not a fan. And I'm like, why do you have to put eyes on everything? And it's really cute. And so now that I know that I can strategically use it both ways, I can use just the dies without the eyes, and then I can also, use the popcorn boxes and have different sentiments across the bottoms of the popcorn boxes to cover up the eyes. But then when I want to go full on playful, which my grandkids would probably love, and make this little popcorn guy, he is really super cute. So now I've cut another one of those little film strip dies out of black, and I mounted it on white. And I do struggle with where to stick it, and then I finally decide to stick it up at the top between the two pieces of popcorn. I thread my ribbon through the top, and I love it. It's so cute. I love both of them so much, and I can see this on a little bag of popcorn. Now, we do popcorn the old-fashioned way. We don't often use microwave popcorn, so I have actual popcorn kernels and oil, and some people do like an air popper. So I think it's real cute to use one of the Stampin' Up! Canvas bags and add that ribbon to it. I think both of those turned out really, really cute. Now we get to move on to the scrapbook layout, and I am feeling this. I really am excited about this. It is not a traditional grid because it has a little bit of space around it, but it is a grid nonetheless. So I've done something a little bit different. I cut my squares to 2.5 plus an eighth because I want to have photos that are 2.5 with an 1/8 inch white border around it. And I actually use Very Vanilla, which is a coordinating color to Weekend Adventure. And what I did is I created some 2.5-inch photos with an 1/8 inch Very Vanilla. So I added an 1/8 inch to the 2.5-inch photos. And then I did my journaling on a Word document, and I made a text box, and I made it 2.5 inches. And then I typed inside my journaling, and then I printed it on the Very Vanilla cardstock and cut it out. So I created 8 squares that are 2.5 plus an 1/8. And then I created the 4 Very Vanilla pieces in 2.5 plus an 1/8. I should figure out that. Is that 2.5 plus an 1/8? Is that 2 5/8? I'm really giggling now because I'm not smarter than a 5th grader, but it is 2 5/8 indeed. So all of those pieces are 2 5/8. And I really love the, even though it looks like hiking, I thought that that looked like gumshoe, like gumshoe footprints. So I thought, well, private investigators are always tracking footprints. And so it's my gumshoe prints is what it's going to be. So what I'm going to do is arrange these so that they are arranged strategically on the bottom where I have a little bit of a visual triangle with the journaling. So I told the story of the blue parlor, which is the escape room, and it was a murder mystery. And I thought it was really interesting with all of my high school girls, 40 to 50 year friendships here. And I thought, how well after 40 or 50 years do we work together? We did get out. It was literally, we had 60 minutes, and it was like 59 3/4 of a minute when we got out. But we did have a couple hints from somebody younger than us. And so I will be transparent that we did have to have a little physical help and a little mental help because our locks got stuck a couple times. Even though we had the passwords, we figured out the codes. And so they did come in and intervene, and the locks were just hard to pull. So we did have a little bit of help. But hey, in our book, we made it. it. So basically, I did decide instead of using each of those squares as a square grid to put a photo on, which you could totally do, you could have only small 2.5-inch photos. I decided to make one of the photos 4x4 and have an 1/8 inch around it. So it's 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. Then I used Cajun craze that is 4.5 by 4.5, and then black that is 4 5/8 by 4 5/8. And I thought that was a nice variety, having a large focal photo that we could pop up. And I decided to go a 1/2 inch from either side. So we're going to go 1/2 inch from the right side of the page, and a 1/2 inch from the left side of the page. And we're going to go 3 inches down from the top of the page. Once you get the top photo, then it's really easy to space them. So I put my left one in place and my right one in place, and then I'm just eyeballing the 2 middle ones, and then the next 2 rows will be really easy to place. And I did fuss a little bit because I really want the gumshoe prints to show. And so I did kind of have them covered up with like photos or journaling, or I had them under the big photo. And I rearranged because I kind of want a little bit of the buffalo plaid to show because of all the brick. And then I wanted the gumshoe prints to show. And then I definitely wanted some of the blue outline to show because it's called Blue Parlor. And there's some blue in the photo. And I think it really brings out the colors. And I was super pleased that I could use, it's so funny. We're constantly using like non-outdoor lines to get our outdoor and our masculine because we're always looking for outdoor and masculine. So now we get an outdoor masculine and I'm using it for an indoor adventure. But hey, it's whatever goes with your photos, right? So I've added foam tape to the larger focal photo, and that's all of us in line, like a lineup, like the criminal lineup, and our signs. You probably can't see them, but they're super funny. My sign says, I'm still confused. One of the signs says, I need smarter friends. I love that one. So yeah, they're really, really cute. So I actually cut a couple objects off of the Cricut, a magnifying glass, which I thought would be so fun with a clear window sheet, and then a little gumshoe hat that I cut on the Cricut, and a mustache. I don't want to do much with this. This is a super simple sketch, and I just want it to be really clean and simple and easy to put together with a couple little key things that are going to just personalize it for my photo experience. But I'll link in the description the design space file, and if you have, an escape room or a murder mystery party or a murder mystery dinner theater, and you want to do something similar and case this, then you'll have the exact files that I used. And so I will put that in if you click more, you'll see that design space file. And so we're also going to pull out something that are called Irresistables. Now, Irresistables were something that Close to My Heart had and that Stampin' Up! Now has. Stampin' Up! Has a package of Irresistables with 3 different patterns. Irresistables are resist cardstock, where the pattern has some resist elements and some elements that will actually take and absorb the ink. So what you can do is you can actually personalize Irresistables to any color you want them to be, and it's magic. So what you do, and I'm purposely making some of these spots really dark and some of them really light, so you can go light all the way or dark all the way so that you make it one pattern tone. But I kind of wanted to look a little bit like the brick in the background, where there's light and dark bricks all the way across the wall that we're standing in front of. But what you do is you rub the ink on the Irresistables, on the resist paper, then you wipe it off so that there are segments that don't take the ink and segments that do. And the reason that I want to use the Irresistables, not only because it's fun and it gives me another pattern to add, but I want to use up some letters that I have in my stash, and I want to say who done it. And I want it to show up, but they're black letters on black pinstripe paper. So they're not going to show up at all. So I just want to cut a 3/4 inch banner that I could run underneath the title. So if you remember the original sketch, it's just quite simple. It has, let's see, 3 by 4. It has the 12 squares on the original sketch, and then it has 2 lines up at the top, which could be a title or it could be something else. And I thought, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to tell the story with this, and it's going to make such a cute little story. So I'm dovetailing by notching up about a 1/2 inch in the center, cutting in at a diagonal, and then I will often fold, as long as it doesn't make a crease and it's against the grain, I will fold my ends together and use one dovetailed end or notched end as the pattern for the other end, and it makes for really quick and easy dovetail banners. Now, I accidentally stick this down a couple times, so I pull it back up, I get the title in place, and now all we have left is embellishing. So I added some of the precision fine tip glue pen, the fine tip precision glue, to the back of the magnifying glass, added a little bit of clear window sheet to that, and I actually got way too much glue. Less is more. You're always so worried if it's gonna, if it's gonna stick to the acetate, and it actually does. You just have to give it a little bit of time to dry. So I went way overboard, so I lifted it back up, put it back down on some of the acetate, and trimmed around, and it's so cute. I wish it magnified. That would be even more cute. So I don't know if you can see that photo up there. I actually have a magnifying glass on my eye, and everyone has a little prop in the background, and we're actually sitting in the blue parlor after we escaped. So now I'm just trying to decide, where should I put this? Should I put this over people? Should I put it over a sign? Should I put it over the journaling words? And then I end up landing on the photo up there of us all being goofy with our props. So I think I could probably do something with the hat there on the lower left, except I discovered that the hat is covering up my gumshoe shoes, and I don't want to cover up the gumshoe shoes. I want those shoes to show because I think they're super cute and they remind me of a detective. So I'm going to actually move the hat up more toward the top. So I've got the magnifying glass in place, and I actually double popped the top part of the magnifying glass so that it was tilted a little bit, so that you can see all the people really clearly in the photo, and it's kind of tilted on a fun angle. And then I'm going to add the mustache to the bottom of the gumshoe shoes. So I've got the hat, I've got the magnifying glass. Now there's more that I could do here, but I'm all about keeping it simple. I love it. I just love how simple it is, how it tells the story of our fun murder mystery and our very first escape room. I'm going to grab some of those same dots that I used on the card and the tag, and I'm going to add a few of those dots around, and I'm getting happy. I'm getting happy. I hope that you enjoyed this Saturday sketch challenge, single page Saturday sketch challenge. I hope that you'll click on more in the description and download the PDF and play along and scrap your stash, and that you'll find some inspiration. I'm so pleased that Stampin' Up! Now has scrapbooking sketches along with their great tag and card sketches. So I just compared the sketches to our finished product, and I love them. I think we did good. I think we did the sketches justice. I hope you'll hit like, subscribe, the notifications bell, shoot me a comment, and play along. If you're out and about on any of my social media, share what your take on the sketches were, and I hope that you enjoy our brand new scrapbooking sketches in the catalog, and that you'll come back soon for more right here on Snips by Kelly. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.